everyone, Miss GoElectric here. Now, you might have seen I've reviewed other electric scooters that are in the category of a commuting style scooter that are lightweight, simple, and portable. But today, I wanted to take it to the extreme. So next to me, you'll see the Hiboy Titan Pro. First, I'm gonna go over the specifications, and then we're gonna take it out for a ride. So let's get to it. Those electric commuter scooters that you see in pretty much every major city are really cool and effective, but they all start to look the exact same. Well, that's not the case with this one here. This Hiboy Titan Pro is really unique in a few ways. Now let's talk about that. This has two 1200 watt hub motors. Now it also has a battery that is 48 volts and 17.5 amp hours, which is equivalent to 840 watt hours. This is expected to give you up to 40 miles of range. Unlike those electric scooters that you see around town, this scooter is meant to go anywhere. It has big 10-inch pneumatic tires and a dual suspension. It also has dual disc brakes as well. Now those brakes are very important because this scooter is about 62 pounds. It is not lightweight and portable. This is actually heavier than some of my e-bikes. And the max payload capacity on this is 286 pounds. This seems like it's a very robust scooter. Let me show you how this folds down. You just unscrew this piece on the front, and it has a bracket. So you move that out of the way, and then it folds down here. Now, one thing immediately that I've noticed with this is there is no clamp to attach the handlebars to the deck. So if I do want to move it, it's not as easy as some other scooters that I've reviewed. We'll put this back together so I can ride it soon. Now the Titan Pro is really designed to be an off-road scooter, so you definitely need to be protected from the elements and you need to stay planted. And the deck here is nice and large, it is extra wide, and it also has this board tape on it, just like a skateboard, so you have that gripping material for your feet. Now you'll also notice that we have fenders to keep it clean from the elements here on the front and the rear. And right here behind the board is a big thick metal piece where you can plant your foot while you're riding. That's especially important because when you're braking, you need to be braced here, and this is definitely solid enough to do that. This is definitely a rugged scooter that is no frills. So the cable management is nice and simple, it's tidy, and the computer screen is very simple as well. On the left side of the handlebar, there's an ignition with a key here to turn it on, but there's also two buttons. One is to turn on the LED lights, and the second one is to engage the second motor. Now, I actually like the fact that this is separate from the computer screen because when you're riding, you really need to make sure you're keeping both hands on the scooter to stay balanced, and I prefer separate buttons on the left side to be able to control with my left hand instead of having to move through the computer screen. It's a little safer. On the right-hand side of the handlebars is a computer with a simple display, and then right underneath that is a thumb throttle, which is my preference. I like to see a thumb throttle better than a half twist throttle because I feel like it's a safer experience. Well, I think that's enough talking about the Titan Pro. Let's take it out to ride. But of course, before I go riding, I need the appropriate safety gear. And today's an exciting day because I have a new helmet from Xnito that actually matches this Hiboy Titan Pro. So let me unbox that real quick. If you haven't checked out my Xnito helmet review, you can view that here. But let's unbox this because they've made a few changes that I want to check out. This Xnito helmet comes with a visor, and there are a couple changes that they made in this helmet though that I'd like to point out. One is that it comes with a USB-C port now, and that was one of the recommendations that I made in my review, is so when you plug it in to charge up the lights, you can use a USB-C, which is more available now in Universal. This has an LED light in the front, and it has one in the back that has a few different settings, whether you want it to flash or be solid. Nice and bright for nighttime riding. This new clasp is no longer a buckle, it's actually a magnet that just slides together. It's called a fid lock, so this is gonna be really easy to get this helmet on and off. I really like these Xnito helmets because they can protect you when you're riding up to 28 miles per hour, and they have really neat vintage designs, but also it's practical in the fact that it has all these vents through the top to keep me nice and cool when I'm riding around in the summer. They also just came out with a winter liner, so you can actually ride in the wintertime and be safe and comfortable during that time as well. All right, enough talking about this helmet. Let's put it on and go out for a ride. Okay, to start off on the Hiboy Titan Pro, you need to turn the ignition here, and you'll see there's the green lights letting me know that I have my power on, and then you need to turn the computer on the right side. Now this has a setting where it can turn off at a default pretty quickly, so if it's just sitting idle for a little while, this whole system will power down, at least the computer will. But I'm going to take off in the first power mode and using the single motor. And then we'll see how the power delivery is in the single motor variant, and then right after we'll go through the 3 power modes in the dual motor. So let's head out. Now it is pretty peppy off the line even with just using the single motor. And as a reminder, this is 2 1200 watt motors, bringing it to a total of 2400 watts. Very powerful, and should get up to about 32 miles per hour. And depending on what power mode you're riding in will dictate what kind of range you're getting, and also the rider weight and conditions. So if you're in colder weather, it's probably not going to give you as good of range, but has a pretty big battery pack, so hopefully you'll get close to 40 miles if you manage the power right. Now I have the throttle all the way down, and as you can see in the first power mode, I am going about 7 miles per hour. I do have a full battery, so this is maximum voltage, the best available power. Now let's see how easy it is to move up into the different power. Now second mode, definitely giving me more acceleration, not only as far as top speed, but also a little bit more of a pep to it, a kick of power. Now I'm going about 14 miles per hour, and it's smooth sailing here. I think you can really feather the throttle nicely on this, and it's handling some of these bumps very smoothly. All right, let's move into the third power. This is the top level of power available on the single motor. So right now I'm hitting about 17 miles per hour, which 18 now. I'm on this flat surface. It's cruising. Oh, and I'm going over these bumps, and the suspension is doing a pretty good job of making it feel comfortable. I feel very balanced and steady because the tires are thicker. They're a wider tread. They are also, I'm gonna come to a stop here, actually pretty decent braking performance considering they're mechanical brakes. Now initially I thought maybe I would want hydraulics just because this is such a high power scooter, and maybe that'll change my mind once I get to the dual motor, but let's see. Off the line acceleration in the third power mode for the single motor is not too jumpy either, so I really like that. These bumps, it's handling really well, and although they're minor, I definitely feel the suspension at work. And I think the braking performance is good because the discs are so large, so it has more space to grab. These little ridges, it's like you barely feel them. This is great performance just in the single motor, so I'm excited to see how quick it comes to a stop. And when you want to stop on a high power scooter like this, or really any scooter, you really want to make sure you're leaning back when you do that, because you don't want to fly over the handlebars or have all that weight going forward. But I'm really happy with this performance so far, just in the single motor. Now, one thing I want to point out is that the buttons here, they are opaque, and I wish that they would actually make them backlit, because then it would help me determine if I'm in single or dual better. You depress it and it stays in, but there's no reading on the computer to tell you if it's using the single motor or the dual motor. So I think just a really easy way to do that would be for them to backlight these so that when it is depressed, it lights up dual, and when it is just out, it's using the single motor and that's lit up. But you know, just my 2 cents, and obviously you can only get so much when you're at a certain price range. So let's get rolling again, and we're gonna go up to the dual motor. So let me depress that in. Now I'm utilizing the second motor, and I'm gonna actually bring it down to the first power level. Oh my goodness. So immediately it was giving me some good power, but it kind of stalled out and recalibrated, but definitely had more of a traction problem than anything, because it was giving me a lot of torque. But as you can see, it seems as if even if I'm using the dual motor, it's a 7 mph top speed here too. So let's move up into the second power mode. On the dual motor, wow. Yeah, you really gotta lean back on a scooter like this because it gives you so much torque in the dual motor mode that your tires are gonna wanna skid. Great braking performance. I'm really surprised. They're not that smooth, but they are definitely powerful. So I'm happy about that. You hear the tires are just kind of getting after it. It's having a hard time gripping, but it is a pretty knobby tire, so it's doing the job, but it is just barely keeping hold. I'm, as a reminder, about 145, 150 pounds or so. And so if you're a rider that has a little bit more weight to it, might keep planted a little bit better. Let's do off the line in the third power mode just to see how the maximum performance is gonna be. All right. Oh yeah. All right. And I'm hitting about 21 miles per hour. So, interesting because they say 32, but I hit about 21, 22. It might have had a little bit left to go, but it kind of felt like it was petering out. Very interesting as far as the third power setting goes, but honestly, I do think that, you hear the skidding of the tires? I honestly do think that it is plenty of power. As you can see, I just went over some sand. I had no problem getting through that. Very steady. I'm maxed out at about 21 though. Okay guys, so I actually put my phone on here with the miles per hour because I was going 21. I felt like I was going faster, and I think, you know, it might just be that the speedometer is off on this, and it looks like it is because my phone is telling me 10 miles, 11 miles per hour right now, but the computer on the Hiboy is telling me 7. And I went through the settings and everything to see if there were any changes I needed to make to unlock it and get to the top speed, but everything was kind of maxed out as far as power goes. So it definitely seemed to me that it wasn't reading right. So I'm gonna take it up to dual motor and go up to the third power level. All right, and let's see what the top speed is now that I have this reading. All right, so it looks like on my phone, it's reading 30 miles per hour, whereas on the computer screen, it's like 20. So, haha, I have figured it out. I was wondering if that was the case, and it looks like the computer calibration is just off. So, interesting to Oh, little jump there. Interesting to see that this computer is wrong as far as miles per hour goes. All right, another thing that I want to test out is the cruise control. And in order to do that, what you need to do is hold down the down arrow button, and then you'll see on the computer screen, it says cruise control. And so when you're moving at a decent clip and you want it to hold instead of you holding your thumb down on the throttle, then all you have to do is, it looks like, hold it here for a few seconds at a consistent speed, and then hopefully the computer will allow you to do cruise control, which now I have my thumb off the throttle, and you can see I'm maintaining 8 miles per hour. So this is gonna be really great for those that wanna use this for a lot of different use cases, whether that's a commuting scooter or taking it off-road. Gives you that flexibility. You don't have to hold down the throttle the whole time. That is such a neat feature. I think more electric scooters should have it. Because if you are really using this as a commuter, you're gonna wanna use cruise control and not hold your thumb there and get, fatigued keeping it there. Now, I knew there were no hills in Florida. It is flat as can be. So let's cut to a clip real quick where I take this out on a pretty steep hill. One of the reasons I wanted to test out the Hiboy Titan Pro was because it has dual motors and it should give me tons of power to be able to go up even the most steep inclines. Now, I've had other electric scooters that I've tested out that have pretty good power, and they weren't even able to make it up any kind of mild incline. So I'm excited to see how this will perform. Now, I see that sledding hill right up here. That's what I'm gonna test this out on. All right, I have both motors engaged and I'm on the highest power setting, so let's see what this can do. All right, I'm already getting some skidding off the line. I'm about halfway up and my 2 wheels are just spinning like crazy. Not able to make it up all the way, but I'd say about halfway up. I was definitely traction limited there and not torque limited. Now that I'm further back, let's see if I can get up a little bit further with a good head start. Still, tires are spinning a little bit. And again, I'm losing traction on both, but I'm stopping here. Well, it looks like I stopped halfway up the hill again, and then it's a traction issue. It's not torque once again. So even with the head start, I wasn't able to make it up all the way. All right, let's give it one more go. We're gonna start back here once again because I was kind of going sideways there. But once again, max power, a little bit of a head start back here. Let's see what it's got. All right, and then again, about halfway up, I'm losing traction and it's just spitting up dirt. I still think this is a pretty good performing electric scooter with these dual motors, but I wasn't able to get up that steep hill all the way. Now, this is definitely not power limited as far as it goes when trying to make it up this hill. Now, it could be that I need a little bit knobbier tires. I did inflate these tires to the recommended PSI, so deflating them a little bit might help too, but absolutely not a power issue. Now, if you're just starting off in that third power mode with the throttle on the dual motor, it is quite jumpy. So I would definitely suggest people that are more experienced starting off in that mode. Otherwise, just easily drop it down to the single motor or a lower power level when you're getting started on this, because you really want to try to be safe more than anything. This can get away from you pretty quick. Now, one thing I wish they had on this scooter was some kind of either electric horn or a bell or some kind of mechanism. Since it goes fast, it would be useful to have a safety feature where you can alert people. And I think the electric horn is probably the best solution to be able to provide a further distance of travel for sound. So I definitely would like to see that as far as, you know, additional safety features. And that could be a really cheap add-on for them, you know. I think when you get up into these higher performing scooters, you need more safety equipment on here. And that brings me to my next point is the lighting. This has LED lights all the way around the whole deck of the scooter. And they're pretty bright at night. They look cool too. They kind of give it an underneath kind of glow. But I still would like to see a headlight up closer towards the handlebars, like off the stem but higher up, just because it's better visibility for while you're riding, just in general. People will see the bottom glow, but there's no headlight. So I think it should be included on a scooter like this. Very peppy in that third mode. I will say the grips are really comfortable. You know, I'm leaning back, so I'm not putting a lot of pressure on my palms. And this material is a rubberized feel, and it's got a lot of texture. It's got dimples on it and really nice ridges, so it is keeping my hands in place, which is crucial for something so high powered. Now I do wish that the brakes had a little rubberized piece on the back of them to keep my hands in place. My hands are getting a little sweaty, they're slipping around a little bit, but on my fingers at least on the brakes. But I really would like to see more of a grip on the back of those brakes to keep my hands on there even in hot conditions. This has pretty good ground clearance. I definitely want to be able to take it off onto a trail to see how it'll perform. I'm happy with the deck space, at least for me. It feels nice and wide. I love the bracket on the back where my foot is placed for when I'm braking. It is very sturdy. I can tell that that thing is not gonna move, and it's gonna be able to hold my weight. One cool thing about this scooter is that you can actually option for a seat post. And honestly, if I was shopping for a scooter like this, and it offered a seat post, I'd just buy it anyways, even if I don't feel like I would use it all the time, just because if you have that one opportunity where you feel like you need it, you can easily mount it. And this one, it just has a few holes on the side of the deck that it screws into, and that way it gives you the opportunity to just kind of ride it like a little moped instead of a stand-up scooter. I just think that having that option is really nice. All right, well, I have ridden around this scooter all day, so let's head back and talk about the things that I like and the things that I'd like to see improved on this Hiboy Titan Pro. Now that I've spent some time riding the Titan Pro, let's talk about some of the things that I like about this scooter and the things that I'd like to see improved. Starting off with the things that I like. I like that this scooter is durable, capable, and can go on all terrain. This is really rock solid. I'm not worried that if it tips over or if it goes off of a jump, it's gonna get damaged, because it's pretty robust. I also like that I have the ability with this scooter to change it from a single motor to a dual motor. So I can choose between whether or not I wanna be efficient when I'm riding, or if I wanna go really fast and have a lot of fun. This thing can go up hills, it can go anywhere. I can keep up with traffic if I want to. The other neat thing is that I can add on a seat post because of the little inserts on the back here that could secure it in. And I think that is a great option to have if I really want to go those top speeds and be sitting down as well. You know, my personal preference of design is a little bit more refined and modern, but actually, although this does not fit that category, I think this design is really perfect for exactly what this scooter is trying to do. It's very Mad Max-like. One last note about the frame that I want to make is that I like how wide the deck is, and it has a very grippy surface, so I don't feel like I'm gonna slide off at all. And I also really like the foot plate back here, because I tend to put a lot of my weight back there because with a high power scooter like this, you really want to lean back, especially when you're braking so that you don't fly over the front handles. And I feel like this supports my weight wonderfully. I don't feel like it's gonna give at all. It has great stability. The last couple notable points that I want to make about this electric scooter that I like include the tires. They're very grippy and perform well off-road, but also when I'm on road, they're very smooth and they don't make a lot of noise, so they strike a really nice balance. Next is the grips. These are a rubberized material, which is my preference, and I feel like they have enough texture on them that when I'm riding, they provide a lot of stability and my hands aren't gonna slip off, which is really important when you're riding on a high power scooter like this. The battery on this electric scooter is 17.5 amp hours. That's 840 watt hours since it's a 48 volt system. And that's pretty big for an electric scooter. This should be able to take me up to 40 miles. I haven't done a range test yet, but it seems like, according to the computer after my riding, it's on track. If you're spending over $1,000 on an electric scooter, you probably expect a lot from it. Now, there are some opportunities for improvement that I see with the Hiboy Titan Pro, so let's talk about those. One is the suspension. Now, the first thing that drew me to this electric scooter was the fact that it had a dual suspension, but after riding it, I've noticed that it's pretty stiff. It's probably better for heavier riders that are closer to the maximum payload of 286 pounds, but for me, I'm 150 pounds, and I'd like to see some ability to adjust it to make it softer or harder to my liking. The next thing has to do with lighting. Now, I really like the fact that they've built in the LED lights all the way around on the corners of the board, but I wish that there was a headlamp up here that was integrated and attached to the battery for power. I know I can buy a battery powered one and stick it on the handlebars, but I just wish it was integrated so I don't have to remember to charge the battery. I love that this electric scooter has fenders, but this one, especially on the rear, feels a little flimsy, and I feel like if I go off a hard jump, it might break off. This is a pretty heavy scooter, so I feel like if you are gonna take it somewhere and have it be portable, the folding mechanism should be really simple and easy and secure when you go to lift it up. And with this scooter, I feel like there is no opportunity to clip it to the handlebars when you have it folded up against the board here. And the other part is that this mechanism to release it and fold it down is not foolproof. You really have to screw this on really tight to make sure that it's secure and safe while you're riding. I wish they would redesign this to make more of a latch system that doesn't come undone after riding after a little while. Another thing about the tube is that I wish that the handlebar height was either adjustable or just higher. I'm 5'11" and I feel like I have to reach down and that my arms are really extended when I'm riding. And if I had the ability to adjust it, it would be more comfortable. It kind of seems like it's set up for someone that's around 5'6" or so and not much taller than that. The Titan Pro has mechanical brakes, and I have not felt like I can't stop when I'm going at full speed on this electric scooter. So performance is great, but I think at this price point of $15.99, they should have hydraulic brakes included. And I like the fact that hydraulic brakes are low to no maintenance in comparison to mechanical brakes where the cables stretch over time and you will have to tend to them. The last improvement that I'd like to see is that Hiboy sends a 2-amp charger with this electric scooter, which takes 7 to 9 hours to charge. And at this price point of $15.99, I think it should come with something that is a little bit more high powered, whether that's a 3-amp charger or a 4-amp charger, something that's gonna speed up the charging time. As far as the manual goes for this electric scooter, it is not accurate and they really need to improve it, because when I was trying to move through the computer screens to figure out the miles per hour and how accurate it was, things didn't align. So I would really like to see Hiboy make some changes so that it's an accurate instruction manual. Overall, the normal price point of the Hiboy Titan Pro is listed at $1,599. And I feel like there's a lot of stiff competition at that price point, and you could probably find something that's more refined or even better performance. But I've seen this on sale at about $1,299. And at that price point, I think it's a pretty good deal, and it can go on any kind of trail off-road, and you could even take it as a commuter if you want, so I like that versatility for that price. If you're interested in learning more or buying a Hiboy Titan Pro, then see the link in the description below. Hiboy might help support the Miss GoElectric channel if they find we're helping their customers find the right scooters for them. Well, thanks for watching, and until next time, drive, fly, ride. Go electric.